Claire Warren sat alone at a small table near the window of a quiet cafe in the middle of downtown. The place smelled of warm coffee and baked bread. Rain from earlier that afternoon still clung to the glass outside, leaving faint streaks that caught the soft glow of streetlights. Claire's hands rested beside her cup. She stirred the drink slowly, even though it had gone cold long ago. For the 5th time, she looked down at her phone, reading the last message her best friend had sent her again. He is a good man. He'll be there soon. Just give him a chance. She wanted to believe it. Claire had promised herself she would try something new. Lately, her world had felt smaller than ever. Her work filled the days and quiet filled her nights. Her best friend Megan had begged her to meet this stranger, saying he was kind, respectful, and ready for something real. That had sounded hopeful enough for her to agree. But now, after nearly 40 minutes of waiting, Claire began to wonder if kindness existed only in stories told by hopeful friends. The waiter passed by with a polite smile and offered to refill her water. Claire smiled back and thanked him softly. She tried to look busy, scrolling through her phone without reading a single word on the screen. She smoothed the skirt of her light blue dress, glanced toward the door, and then at her reflection in the glass. Her auburn hair fell in loose waves around her shoulders. She had spent too long picking this dress, trying to strike the balance between casual and charming. Now it felt wasted on an empty chair. The cafe was half full. A couple in the corner shared a plate of fries, laughing quietly. A group of students near the counter took turns showing each other videos on their phones. Life seemed to move forward for everyone except her. Claire felt herself shrinking into the silence of her table. The empty seat in front of her looked like an accusation. Maybe she had expected too much again. She checked the time once more. 7:48. Her date had been supposed to arrive at 7 o'clock. Maybe he had changed his mind. Maybe this was some strange joke. Or maybe life was just reminding her not to expect easy nights. She sighed and told herself she would wait 5 more minutes. If he still did not show, she would go home, watch a movie, and forget this evening had ever happened. Just as she began to gather her things, the soft tapping of small shoes reached her ears. Claire turned her head and blinked. 3 little girls stood beside her table. They looked to be about 6 years old, maybe 7. They were identical, each with the same brown curls that bounced when they moved and matching green-gray eyes filled with courage. Their dresses were mismatched, as though they had gotten dressed by themselves, one in yellow, one in pink, and one in blue. The tallest one stepped forward, holding a piece of paper folded into a messy square. Her tiny voice trembled from both nervousness and excitement. "My daddy is sorry he's late," she whispered. Claire blinked again, unsure she had heard correctly. She looked around, expecting to see a parent rushing in behind them, but no one followed. The 3 girls waited with expectant faces, as if it were the most ordinary thing in the world to interrupt a stranger's dinner. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" Claire asked, leaning closer. The little girl straightened her back, repeating carefully, "My daddy is sorry he's late. He said we should tell you not to leave." Claire's lips parted in surprise before curling into a small laugh. This was the last thing she had expected tonight, she said softly. "Your daddy sent you?" All 3 heads nodded at once, curls bouncing. The middle one grinned shyly and asked, "Are you Claire?" "Yes." "Okay," the little girl said, relieved. "Daddy said to wait here with you." Claire hesitated. She looked toward the counter, then at the door again. No sign of this mysterious father. The girls climbed onto the empty seat in front of her without waiting for permission, their tiny feet swinging above the floor. The waiter noticed, but smiled as if he had seen stranger things during his shift. The girls began to chatter. They told her their names, Lily, Leah, and Lucy. They were triplets, they announced proudly, even though Claire could already tell. They insisted they could tell who was who, because only Lily's tooth wiggles, which Lily demonstrated with great pride. Claire laughed, the sound surprising even herself. It felt like air returning after holding her breath too long. When the waiter came back, the girls confidently ordered chocolate milk. Claire raised an eyebrow at their boldness, but the waiter returned with 3 small glasses, no questions asked. The girls clinked them together cheerfully before taking small sips. Then Lily leaned forward and asked Claire if she liked pancakes because their daddy made the best ones in the world. Soon the awkward gloom that had hung over the table began to fade. Laughter bubbled up where silence had sat heavy a few minutes ago. The nervous edge in Claire's chest eased a little. Something about their warm, fearless energy filled the space with unexpected comfort. She watched them whisper to each other, draw with napkin crayons, and giggle at private jokes only triplets could understand. For the first time that evening, Claire forgot about time. She forgot disappointment, forgot her phone, and forgot to wonder whether she should have left. Somehow, this sudden arrival of 3 lively little girls had turned a lonely coffee date into something unexpectedly alive. Somewhere deep inside her, curiosity stirred. Who was the father who sent such charming messengers, and would he actually appear? The cafe filled with a comfortable noise of quiet laughter and the clinking of small spoons against glass cups. Claire could hardly believe what was happening. The 3 little girls were talking so quickly that she could barely keep up. Lily was drawing a heart on a napkin. Leah was counting how many sugar packets were on the table, and Lucy was carefully arranging straws in a neat line. Claire rested her chin in her hand, smiling at their tiny voices. They acted as if they had known her all their lives. Every few seconds, one of them would turn to her with a question or a story. Lily wanted to know if Claire liked cats. Leah wanted to tell her about the time she lost her shoe in the supermarket. Lucy was determined to show how she could wiggle her ears, though honestly it looked more like she was squinting. It was chaos in the most delightful way. "Do you have any children?" Leah asked, between sips of chocolate milk. Claire shook her head. "No, not yet." "Do you have a cat?" Lily pressed, eyes wide. "No cat either." Lucy leaned forward with deep concern. "You should get one." Claire laughed at the seriousness in her tone. "You think so?" "Yes," Lucy said firmly. "Everybody needs something soft to hug." That small sentence lingered in the air. Claire found herself nodding. She had spent so long building a careful life full of work deadlines and polite dinners that she could not remember the last soft thing she had hugged. That thought brought an unexpected ache to her heart. Wanting to change the subject, she pointed toward the folded paper Lily had brought earlier. "What's in there?" "Oh," Lily said and unfolded it proudly. "Picture for you." The paper revealed a drawing of 4 stick figures holding hands. One figure had long hair and a bright smile drawn in red crayon. Underneath, in messy letters, it said "Claire and us." Claire's eyes softened. "You made this for me?" Lily nodded. "Daddy said you might be sad because he was late. So we made you a picture to make you happy first." That small act of kindness startled her more than she expected. She had met them only minutes ago, yet their simple goodness warmed her like sunlight through the window. Outside, the rain finally stopped. A faint golden light began to seep through the clouds. Inside the cafe, the girls started to hum a song quietly, swaying in their seats, their voices sweet and uneven. People at nearby tables turned to smile at them. Claire could feel the stares of a few amused strangers, but did not care. The charm of the moment was too strong to resist. As the song ended, Leah looked around and asked, "Where is Daddy anyway?" Claire tilted her head. "He told you to come find me, right?" "Yes," Leah said. "He said he was almost done, and to tell you he was sorry." Claire tried to picture this man. She imagined someone kind enough to raise 3 polite and fearless little girls. She also imagined that he must be a little scattered, maybe the kind of person who spilled his coffee but always apologized sincerely after. Whoever he was, he had trusted his daughters to find her. That alone told her something important. Suddenly, Lucy jumped down from the chair and started spinning in circles. The waiter nearly dropped a tray trying to avoid her. Claire reached out and caught the girl gently by the arm. "Careful, sweetheart," she said with a laugh. "You might turn into a top," Lucy giggled, but sat still again. The 3 of them began whispering together, leaning close, planning something mysterious. Then they announced they had to use the bathroom, but that Claire should not move from her seat until they got back. They left in a flurry of giggles and hand-holding. For a moment, silence returned to the table. Claire looked again at the drawing on the napkin. Stick figures held hands across crayon lines, tiny hearts floating above their heads. She smiled to herself and tucked the paper safely beside her phone. A few minutes passed. She began to wonder if the girls were all right when she heard small running feet again. The triplets came racing back, all talking at once. "He's here," Lily said breathlessly. "He's coming." Leah nodded quickly. "Daddy found a parking spot," Lucy added proudly. "We told him you didn't leave." Claire looked toward the entrance. Her heart beat faster without her permission. She told herself it was only curiosity. Not excitement, but the truth hummed differently inside her chest. The door opened. A gust of cooler evening air followed a man stepping through. He looked somewhat out of breath, hair slightly messy, jacket half-zipped. His eyes darted around the room until they landed on her table, where 3 little girls sat beaming. "There he is," Leah whispered with delight. The man smiled with both relief and embarrassment.
Ow.
He crossed the cafe toward them, offering shy waves to the people who had watched the commotion from their tables. As he reached them, he knelt beside his daughters first. "You 3 didn't cause trouble, did you?" he asked with gentle warmth. "We were perfect," Lily declared proudly. Then he turned to Claire, his expression a mix of apology and hope. "I'm so sorry," he said, voice soft. "I didn't plan for them to crash our first meeting." Claire glanced at the triplets, who were now grinning brightly at both of them. She smiled up at him. "It's fine," she replied. "Actually, they saved it." He looked surprised, then laughed, the tension in his shoulders melting away. The sound was light and real, carrying something good inside it. And just like that, what had started as an awkward and lonely evening began to shift into something completely new. Ethan Carter stood beside the table trying to catch his breath while his mind rushed to find the right words. He had imagined this meeting 100 times during the day, but not once had it included his 3 daughters occupying the date before he arrived. The look on Claire's face told him she was both amused and unsure what to think. He ran a hand through his hair, his cheeks red with apology. "I promise I didn't plan such an entrance," he said. "The babysitter's car broke down at the gas station close to our house. I couldn't leave them there, so I thought I would explain in person before canceling. But when I turned around, they were running into the cafe already." Claire smiled, her amusement shining in her eyes. "You must have good runners," she said. Ethan sighed, also smiling. "They are small and fast and ignore all instructions." He glanced at the girls who were now waving at the waiter to show him their drawing. "I hope this doesn't completely ruin your evening." "Actually, it's been the most interesting night I've had all month," Claire said. That eased something in his chest. He took the empty chair across from her, and the triplets clapped as if he had just joined a stage show. Leah leaned over, whispering to her sisters but loud enough for both adults to hear. "Daddy finally came." "Yes, I did," he said, giving her nose a gentle tap. Then he looked back at Claire. "This isn't exactly how I wanted to meet you." "I think it fits," she said lightly. Life hardly ever listens to plans. Her tone carried kindness without sharp edges. The waiter came to take another order. Ethan quickly asked for black coffee, but the girls all demanded pancakes. Claire laughed as the waiter nodded politely and walked away. When the girls heard the word pancakes, they bounced in their seats and started to chant quietly until Ethan gave them a mild look that meant enough. Once silence returned, Ethan turned to Claire. "Thank you for not leaving. Some people might have just gone home." "I almost did," she admitted. "Then your daughters appeared with a message. It was impossible to walk away after that." He studied her face, seeing the small blush rising on her cheeks. She had kind eyes filled with quiet strength. She looked like someone who had grown used to managing everything on her own. Maybe someone who hoped for connection, but was careful not to expect too much. Lily interrupted his thought. "Daddy, she likes our picture." Ethan glanced down at the napkin drawing and grinned. "Of course she does. It's beautiful." Claire nodded. "It's perfect. You have 3 very sweet artists." "They get that from their mom," he said softly. Then, realizing how that sounded, he straightened in his chair. "She passed away 3 years ago." "I'm sorry," Claire said gently. "It's all right," he said, voice calm but distant. "We learned to keep moving." The girls kept me busy enough to forget how heavy loss can feel. For a moment, both adults sat quietly while the triplets created towers with sugar packets. It wasn't an uncomfortable quiet, rather a shared understanding. Claire could see that this man's kindness came from a place that had already been broken once. His laughter carried a faint echo of pain, but also hope. The waiter brought the pancakes and coffee, the table filled with the smell of butter and syrup. The girls began splitting pieces for each other, passing the plate with sticky fingers. Claire could not remember the last time she had felt warmth this simple. Without meaning to, she found herself laughing again when Lucy tried to feed Ethan a bite and missed, leaving syrup on his cheek. He wiped it off, pretending to be serious, but failing miserably. The conversation found its own rhythm. Ethan told her about his work designing furniture from scrap wood. He said he liked taking something broken and turning it into something that could last years. Claire told him she worked as an elementary teacher and that her students often reminded her that patience was a muscle not everyone had. He told her that explained her calm energy. She blushed at the compliment, but tried to hide it behind a sip of coffee. As the triplets finished their pancakes, they began to fade, sitting closer together, yawning softly. Ethan looked apologetic. They had a long day. I was hoping to have a quiet dinner, but now I think bedtime is winning. Claire shook her head. Don't apologize. They make everything brighter. He felt gratitude rush through him. He hadn't expected someone to be so understanding. It had been a long time since he had met a person who looked at his messy life and didn't see inconvenience first. While the girls leaned against him half asleep, Ethan said in a lower voice, I know this wasn't the perfect first meeting, but if you're willing, maybe we could try again under calmer conditions. Claire looked at him for a moment. The memory of sitting alone earlier flickered in her mind. Then she looked at his daughters, peaceful and trusting, their small hands tangled around each other. Something in her chest softened. I think I'd like that, she said finally. His gratitude showed in his quiet smile. You just made my evening. When they stood to leave, he balanced two daughters in his arms while the third held onto his jacket. He looked slightly clumsy, yet careful, each move filled with love. Claire walked beside him to the sidewalk, the cool night wrapping around them. The streetlights shimmered against wet pavement. As Ethan loaded the sleepy girls into the car, he turned one last time to wave. Thank you for waiting, he said. Claire smiled. Worth the wait. As the car pulled away, she stood under the dim light, still holding the folded crayon drawing the girls had made. It trembled slightly in the night breeze. When she looked at it again, the stick figure seemed more alive now. Somewhere deep in her heart, she felt that this evening had opened a door she never knew was locked. The next morning, Claire woke with a smile she had not worn for a very long time. Sunlight slipped across the curtains of her small apartment while her mind replayed pieces of the strange and wonderful evening at the cafe. She could still hear the sweet voices of the triplets and picture Ethan's calm eyes when he thanked her for staying. It felt like a scene she might dream about and wake from, except her phone buzzed on the nightstand, showing a real message from a real man. The message read, Thank you again for last night. The girls keep asking when we'll see you again. Maybe dinner this weekend? I promise no syrup unless requested. Claire laughed out loud at the last line. His small touch of humor told her he was still nervous, but also hopeful. She typed back before she could overthink. Dinner sounds good. Pancakes optional. At work, the day moved faster than usual. The children in her class seemed extra cheerful, and even the normal noise of crayons rolling off desks felt pleasant. Between teaching math and helping with reading exercises, her thoughts still drifted back to Ethan. She wondered how he looked without the rush of chasing 3 children. She wondered if he laughed often, or if his laughter was something rare. When Friday arrived, Ethan picked a small family restaurant near the park. The place smelled of roasted chicken and baked pie and had tables covered in bright checkered cloth. Claire arrived early, but not as early as last time. She chose a spot near the window again, her heart oddly calm. Then came the sound she had started to recognize, quick tapping shoes and soft giggles. The triplets walked in holding hands with their father, who looked far less rushed this time. He wore a simple dark shirt and jeans and carried a jacket folded neatly over his arm. When the girls saw Claire, they broke into smiles so wide they made half the restaurant turn to look. Lily ran ahead and wrapped her arms around Claire's waist without hesitation. You came, she said, as if it had ever been in question. Claire laughed and hugged her back. Of course I came. I didn't forget my new friends. Soon Leah and Lucy joined in, and the 3 talked excitedly about their day before. Ethan gently reminded them to let Claire sit. After everyone settled down, the waitress came with menus. This time Ethan ordered grilled chicken and lemonade for the adults, while the girls convinced Claire to share their fries. Conversation flowed easily. The girls told stories about school projects, about how Lucy had built a tower of blocks taller than her teacher, and about how they had named a squirrel at the park Mr. Whiskers. When they spoke, Ethan watched them with a quiet pride that reached beyond words. Occasionally, he met Claire's eyes and shared a soft smile that said thank you for listening. During a small pause, Claire asked, "Do you always spend dinners with the girls?" "Mostly," he said. "They prefer it that way. I tried going out alone once, but halfway through the babysitter called because they wouldn't go to bed. It's easier when we're all together." Leah leaned in. "You didn't like the babysitter," she said seriously. Ethan chuckled. "That's what I heard." Claire smiled at their playful honesty. She started to feel comfortable, as if she were part of their circle instead of a visitor. Watching Ethan slice food into smaller pieces for each girl, she saw a tenderness that came naturally from years of caring for them. When he talked about his work, his eyes sparkled like someone who loved what he created. He spoke about finding old wood at recycling shops, sanding it, and shaping it into tables strong enough to last decades. Listening to him, Claire thought his work sounded a lot like how he lived, taking broken things and giving them new purpose. After dinner, they walked outside toward the park beside the restaurant. The night air smelled of rain and grass from a sprinkler nearby. The girls ran ahead toward the swings, while Ethan and Claire followed slowly behind. He looked at her and said, "I hope this isn't too strange for you. I don't usually bring anyone into our routine." "It's not strange," Claire said softly. "It feels real." He seemed to consider that for a moment, then nodded. "Real is nice." They reached a bench near the swings. The girls took turns calling for Ethan to watch how high they could go. Each squeal carried joy, pure and bright like music. Claire found herself laughing again, free of the quiet weight she usually carried. Sitting beside Ethan while the children played felt peaceful in a way she had not felt for years. When two of the swings slowed, Lucy came asking for a push. Claire rose first, guiding the little girl back and setting her gently into motion. Laughter filled the air as she pushed higher. Ethan watched with warmth in his eyes that spoke without words. She had entered their world easily, as if she had always belonged there. Later, as the girls grew tired, he loaded them into the car parked nearby. They waved from the back seat while holding half-empty cups of juice like prizes. Before closing the door, Lily called, "See you soon, Claire?" "I'll hold you to that," Claire replied, waving. Ethan leaned beside the open door for a short moment before leaving. "Thank you for today. I can't remember the last time I saw them this happy. They're easy to love," she said. He paused, eyes searching hers, as if he wanted to say something more, but decided to keep it simple. "So are you," he said finally. Her heartbeat stumbled a little, but her smile stayed natural. "Text me when you get home safe." "I will." When they drove away, Claire stood under the street lamp, watching the world quiet around her. Then she turned toward her car with a heart that felt lighter than she thought possible. Some invisible string seemed to connect her steps to his now, stretching gently between hope and something even stronger beginning to grow. A week later, the evenings began to turn cooler. The trees in the park near Claire's apartment started losing their first few leaves, spinning down in quiet spirals when the wind passed. Claire often walked there after work now. At first it was to clear her head, but after meeting Ethan, she found herself expecting to see a certain tall figure with 3 lively girls running ahead. On Thursday afternoon, that hope came true. She spotted them near the pond, feeding bits of bread to ducks that appeared in messy groups. Ethan stood a few feet away, watching the girls throw crumbs and laugh. When he noticed Claire in the distance, his face lit with that warm, unguarded smile she had started to know by heart. "You found us," he called as she approached. "I figured the ducks might tell me," she said. He laughed softly. "The ducks are our best friends. We visit them every week." The girls turned when they heard her voice and ran to greet her with the same excitement as before. Lily clung to her hand, Leah held onto her arm, and Lucy proudly offered her half of a torn bread roll. Claire sat down on the bench near the water, still surrounded by giggling voices. Each moment felt so natural that she hardly believed these people had been strangers not long ago. Ethan joined her on the bench, holding a small paper bag of crumbs. "It's their favorite evening plan," he said. "I think it's what keeps them calm after long school days." She watched him toss a piece of bread into the water where a line of ducks rushed forward. "And what keeps you calm?" she asked. He leaned back with a small sigh. "This, mostly. Watching them, seeing them happy. I used to think my life had frozen after my wife passed away. These 3 kept me moving, but sometimes it felt like I was walking in circles. Meeting you was the first time something felt different." His honesty made her heart catch slightly. She looked down at her hands, feeling the warmth creep into her cheeks. "Different can be good," she said quietly. A group of children ran past, chasing a ball, and the echo of their laughter mixed with the sound of the girls. When the wind picked up again, Ethan turned to her. "I've wanted to thank you properly," he said, "not just for the dinners and the company. The girls talk about you every day. They tell their teachers they have a new friend who listens to their stories." "That's sweet," she replied, touched. "They make it easy to listen." He smiled and reached for a leaf that had fallen on her shoulder. He brushed it away gently, his fingers trembling just slightly before pulling back. "I never know if I'm getting this right," he admitted, raising them, balancing work, still trying to be someone who deserves another chance. "Ethan, you're doing better than right," she said. "You love them, you're safe and happy and wild in the best way. That's everything that matters." For a while, neither of them spoke. They simply watched the girls run, the sight connecting them in comfortable silence. The setting sun dipped lower, painting the pond in golden light. Claire realized how calm she felt sitting beside him. Long ago, she had stopped believing peace could feel like this, so simple and gentle. When the girls grew tired of chasing ducks, Lucy climbed onto the bench between them and placed her small hand in each of theirs. "We made a family picture for you," she said proudly. She dug in her small backpack and pulled out another crayon drawing. This time it showed 5 figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. On top, written carefully in bright letters, were the words "Us Together." Claire took it carefully. "It's beautiful," she said. "Should I keep it safe?" Ethan smiled, looking down at his daughter. "If that's all right with you, Lucy, I think Claire deserves it." Lucy nodded eagerly, then jumped down again to chase her sisters. Claire folded the drawing gently and placed it inside her bag. "You know," Ethan said in a quieter voice, "it's funny. When the girls first saw you sitting at that table waiting, they said you looked like a storybook princess who forgot her crown. I thought they were being dramatic, but maybe they weren't far off." She laughed softly. "I'm no princess. It's just someone who likes good company and hot coffee." "For what it's worth," he said, smiling, "you make waiting worthwhile." When the sky began to darken, he gathered the triplets, who were yawning and rubbing their eyes. They begged to stay longer, but he promised they could return on Sunday. Before leaving, the girls each hugged Claire tightly, leaving crumbs from their fingers on her sleeve. Ethan lingered a moment after settling them in the car. "You're free Sunday?" he asked. "I think I am," she said. "Are we meeting the ducks again? Unless you have a better idea?" She grinned. "I'll think of something." He smiled back, eyes bright with something more than gratitude. "I'll look forward to finding out." After the car pulled away, Claire walked slowly around the pond, feeling her heart beat steady and light. She thought of the drawing tucked in her bag and the way his voice had sounded. When he called her a storybook princess, something inside her felt alive in a new way, like a long, quiet melody beginning again. Later that night, as she placed the new drawing beside the first one on her kitchen shelf, she realized both pictures shared one bright detail. In each, 5 hands joined in a line across the page. In the second picture, the hearts floating above were bigger than before. She smiled at the thought and turned off the light, carrying that small brightness with her into sleep.